All right, let's talk about something that happens to so many of us, especially when you've been in the game for a while: late career burnout. And the thing is, it just doesn't feel like the burnout you might have had in your 30s. No, this is different. It's heavier. And if that sounds at all familiar, well, you're definitely in the right place. Does this hit close to home? You've built a whole career, you've put in decades of work, and you figure, of course I'm tired. You tell yourself it's just the miles on the clock. It's not real burnout. That's for people who can't handle the pressure. You can handle it. You always have. A couple of weeks off, maybe somewhere sunny, and you'll be right as rain. And that's the moment it gets scary. You come back from vacation, your batteries are technically recharged, but that deep sense of flatness, of just going through the motions, it's still there. In fact, it might even be worse because now you don't have exhaustion to blame it on. So what on earth is actually going on here? Well, this isn't the kind of burnout you read about in most articles. This is a fundamentally different animal, and trying to treat it with the old rules is exactly why so many people get stuck. Okay, here's the absolute key distinction. When you're in your 30s, burnout is usually a workload problem. Too much to do, not enough time. You're exhausted, but you still believe in the mission. But in your 50s, it's a meaning problem. The issue isn't your battery anymore, it's the entire vehicle. This is what we call a structural gap. So what is this structural gap? It's not something that just appears overnight. It's this slow, quiet drift that happens over years, maybe even decades. You keep pushing forward because, hey, the job pays the bills, it's what you know. But that gap between what you're doing and what feels worth doing just gets wider and wider until you just can't pretend it's not there anymore. And this brings us to a really crucial point. Since the problem is so different, it finally explains why all that standard, well-meaning advice you get from everyone just doesn't work. It's like trying to put a Band-Aid on a broken bone. This is always number one on the list, right? Just take a real vacation. Unplug. Go on a sabbatical. But here's the flaw in that logic. Rest is great for restoring your energy, your capacity, but it does nothing to fix a lack of meaning. You come back fully rested to the exact same meaningless work you left behind. It's like filling up the gas tank of a car you don't even want to drive anymore. Then comes the next piece of classic advice for senior folks. Just delegate. Get some of that work off your plate. But again, this misses the point. If you've stopped believing the work has any real value, then doing less of it doesn't help. It just gives you more quiet, empty hours to stare at the stuff that's left and think, is this it? Now this feels like it should work. Therapy, coaching, these are powerful tools, for sure. Here's the catch, though. Those conversations are only ever as good as the questions you're willing to ask. And at this stage, most of us are unconsciously avoiding the one terrifying question that sits underneath everything. So you talk around the problem, but never actually tackle it. So if that's what doesn't work, what is actually causing this deep sense of disconnection? Well, it's not random. It usually comes down to a perfect storm of three things that have been brewing for a very long time. Think of it like a three-part recipe for burnout. First, your very identity has become load-bearing. It's completely propped up by your job. Second, the motivation that got you here in the first place, it's expired. And third, the personal cost of your career is suddenly staring you right in the face. Let's break that down real quick. Load-bearing identity means your job title isn't just what you do anymore. It's who you are. Then your motivation. Maybe you got into this to build financial security, or maybe to prove something to your parents or to yourself. Well, by your 50s, you've probably done it. That fuel tank is empty. And finally, all those deferred costs, the family events you missed, the toll on your health, they're not just abstract ideas anymore. You can see them and you can feel them. All of this, the meaning gap, the failed advice, the hidden causes, it all leads to one place. It leads to a single, incredibly powerful question that sits at the very heart of this. And it's the one we will do almost anything to avoid asking ourselves. And we avoid it because, let's be honest, answering it feels like pulling a thread that can unravel the entire tapestry of the life you've so carefully built. It feels huge. It feels dangerous. What do I want this to have been for? It's not, what should I do next, or how do I make more money? It's, when you look back at all of it, all the sacrifices, the long nights, the wins, the losses, what do you want it all to have meant? Now, a question that big can feel absolutely paralyzing. I get it. So let's bring it all the way back down to earth. Let's forget about some grand 5-year reinvention plan. The path forward actually starts with something much, much smaller.
You don't need a spreadsheet or a complicated system. All you need is a pen, a single blank piece of paper, and a moment of total honesty with yourself.
Here's the question I want you to write down. If I'm honest with myself about what I actually want the next 10 years to look like, what would I have to stop pretending is fine? And that's it. Don't even try to answer it right away. Just write it down and let it sit with you. The truth has a funny way of showing up when you finally create a space for it.
And as you're thinking about this, please hold this one thought close. This might be the most important thing to understand. You are not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. You're simply running an old program, an operating system that was written for a younger version of yourself, a person with totally different needs and different goals. That feeling of burnout, that sense of being adrift, it is not a signal that you've failed. It's just information. It is a system notification telling you that your old program has finally run its course. It's time for an update. The only question is, what will you write next?